Hello, I welcome you all to yet another program during our camp meeting. The viewers out there, thank you very much for viewing us from wherever you're viewing us. Because of time, we'll straight away dive into our discussion. Elder, you're welcome again. Thanks for being part of the show. I want to ask a question that will lead us into the discussion. What is financial stability in your own definition?
Thank you, viewers, and those listening to us. Let me first of all take this opportunity to introduce my co-presenter. His name is Patrick Luima.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's also a father, a family man, and he works for a financial institution.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, we are talking about financial stability. What is financial stability? This means that a person has a control over his financial situation. Financial stability doesn't mean someone has to be rich. It is just a mindset whereby you eliminate debt, you are focusing on living a good life, increasing on your saving, and financial security for your family. This may look like a dream, but it is achievable. And if we are actually disciplined, we are able to achieve this financial stability.
So, Elder, what I'm hearing you say is financial stability is not an outward view of what people see, of what the environment sees about me. Is it what you're saying?
No, it is not what the others say. It is quite personal.
It is personal.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That leads me to yet another question. I want to know, how can one achieve this financial stability that we're talking about?
Yeah, Patrick, there might be so many ways that you can achieve financial stability, but I will give you a few that I think are very important.
Thank you.
Number one, make your finances personal. Your finances must be personal. This means focusing on your situation and not comparing yourself with any other person. This one is the most important thing, because naturally or culturally, we always compare with other people. When you see someone driving a car,
You want to drive the same car even better?
you want to drive even a better car.
Yes.
When you see someone very smart, you also want to be smart.
Exactly. That is
You might also look at the business you are doing, and I want to do the same, whereas I don't have the means. Each person has a different opportunity and chances, and therefore, it doesn't matter what other people look at. Look at yourself. How much money do you have? What are your opportunities? And live within that bracket and be able to achieve something. That's number one.
I am seeing I am listening to you. What you're trying to say is that most especially the young people of this generation, we should not look at what we see. I mean, the other people do. We should not look at how they're dressed. We should not look at their nice cars. But I thought it is a component that can drive me.
Yeah, it could be a component, but look at what you have. Look at the opportunities that you have.
Okay.
Not everybody has. It is not a standard formula.
Financial stability is not a uniform.
Yeah, it's not a uniform. Each person has got his own chances and way to achieve. And therefore, look at what is available for you to be able to to do what is possible. That's number one.
Yes. The other point.
The other point is understand that you are the most important part of investment, you yourself.
So I should start with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about what you are and be able to determine what you're supposed to do. And this is what I think is important about yourself. Time is very important in one's life. What time do you take to do what is supposed to be done? In business, in management, in doing your work, how much time do you take? It is very important. You must be also educated. Education is very important when you are carrying out business or learning to do something for yourself. Develop skills in your business. Develop skills where you're working. Acquire experience. These are very key factors when you want to receive or gain financial stability. The other one is your health. It is very important that your health.
So that I can work the next day?
Yeah, definitely. Eat the best food. Do exercise. Go for medical checkups. It's important to do medical checkups. Don't think that because you're a young man,
I'm okay. Work mwali.
You should check. You should be able to do everything to avoid big medical bills. It is very important that you look at your health.
Yes, Elder. Thank you very much. Talking about investment in self and the fact that the most important asset that I have to start with is myself. So I cannot attain financial stability until I am okay, because it begins with me. Thank you very much. Another point, do you have?
Yeah, there are others. You should have a budget. First of all, why do we have to have a budget? It is one way we track our expenses and earnings. This is common when you are dealing with especially recurrent expenses. You should have a budget for your personal expenses and your business. Avoid impulse spending, because this is where we fail to save. Don't buy things just because you have money in your pocket.
Because you're with friends out and...
your friends out, you see something good and you decide to buy. And sometimes there are many people who I have seen, they even borrow to buy things which are not necessary. Looking at a very good suit, and you say, I want to be smart, you borrow money to go and buy that suit, when it's not necessary.
I am of the view that these things of budgets, these things of planning, these things of cash flow, these are things that work maybe for companies and organizations. I don't really find it necessary for me to plan what I spend, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm the one earning. I make the money anyway.
Yeah, I know, but it is important, my dear, to even have a family budget.
Back at home?
Back at home, so that you know where your money goes. I want to give you an example. When I was still a student at the university, I was studying outside, and I would get money once in a year.
Once in a year?
Once in a year. And I would make sure that I use this money up to the end of the academic year. How was I doing that? I calculated how much money I needed for upkeep, how much I needed for fees, how much I needed for transport and the rest, and I managed to live. And that is just being at home. So it is very important. Sometimes you find yourself after maybe a day, you look at what you had in your wallet and you say, how did I spend this money?
You cannot track.
You cannot track. Whereas you know that there are certain other things that you have not worked upon, which are necessary for the family. So it is not only the family, I mean the business, but also
The family.
the family. If you want to do what I wanted to say next,
Okay.
developing a culture of saving. If you don't budget, if you don't look at the track of how you are using your funds, then you can't save. Saving is not something easy. You must be disciplined.
Takes commitment.
And you must be able to sacrifice, because needs can never stop to come up. And very soon you'll find that if you have saved 500,000 this month,
It's all swept away.
it is swept away. So you need to be disciplined in how you spend money, both in your business and at home.
Right at that point, Elder, saving. You have talked about a budget, and the take for me is that a budget is just there to tell me where to go, to tell my money where to go,
To direct.
to direct my money where to go, instead of I wondering where the money went. But talking about a savings culture, saving is something that is kind of not easy to achieve.
Definitely.
It is kind of challenging and hard. I think we all understand that saving doesn't come easy. If I have a certain amount that I earn, how can I make sure that I have something left for me?
Just as I said, you must be disciplined in whatever you do. Plan your expenses. And I have learned one thing in life, and that is to live below my means.
Below or at your means?
Not my level, but below the means. That's when you can be able to save. We naturally live in a world of dreaming. You dream to have a good car. You dream to have a beautiful family. You dream about getting a very good house. All those are dreams. And sometimes when we get the money, we overspend it trying to fulfill our what? Our dreams. However, living below our means is the key for long-term success, financial success. If you regularly spend all the earnings on the money you make, then you can't save. I'll give you an example. When I was a civil servant, I used to stay in Kololo.
Uptown.
A
That is upscale, yes.
upscale place.
Places to be.
Then when I retired, I had to leave Kololo. But I had a house in almost a similar place in Naguru.
So you shifted to Naguru.
No. Now, my earnings were going to be small. And therefore, I shifted in an area where I could afford to live, so that I can be able to save money to develop my own businesses.
Today's young person cannot easily get to appreciate the fact that someone has a property in Kololo, a property in Naguru. They cannot ably live in Kololo for a reason or two. And I thought it would be more saving for you to move to your property in Naguru.
No, it depends.
And life goes on.
Life can go on, but with challenges. Because now your earnings have gone down, so you should live within the levels where you have gone. If the company where you are working has been giving you a Pajero, don't go out when you are through with your work
And you buy a
and you
Pajero
look for a Pajero, and sometimes even borrow money to buy the
to
Pajero.
maintain the status.
To maintain the status. Live within your means or just below your means
To save something.
to save something for the future.
That's actually the plight of most of the corporate professionals, is that by the time they leave employment, by the time they leave these organizations, corporate people are poorer than when they first entered in these organizations. So, Elder, yes, as you're going on how we can attain and sustain financial stability, you're telling us about how to achieve financial stability. Any other points?
Yes, you can't receive financial stability if you are not saving. You must make sure that you create even an emergency fund.
But I thought emergencies can be taken care of from my savings.
By what?
By the savings. I'm already saving.
There are times when we get into situations which we have not planned for. You can get sickness, which is very costly, or an accident, or any other unexpected event that is quite costly. And this is the fund that will help you.
The emergency fund.
The emergency fund. And for me, as an experience, I think what I did is, I know you cannot keep the money there because the needs keep coming in.
Keep coming in.
I converted that kind of money into assets.
Oh.
Yeah, I bought land, bought properties, just to keep that money away from my hands.
Because your hands are your problem.
My hands are my problem. And therefore, you must create that kind of fund. I know young men and women, when you are starting to work, you think that saving or creating this is immaterial. But it is very important, because at the age of retirement, you need to have something that you are to look upward for. I know you might be having children, you might be having relatives,
yes,
but they're not going to meet all your expenses. So, like me, when I started work, I started saving in my first month of work.
Everything about you sounds like you didn't have a life at campus. You were already saving from January to December.
That's why I was saying financial stability is not being rich. It is being able to manage your finances and live a very comfortable life,
below
which
your means.
is stress-free.
Stress-free.
You can be rich later on. You can have the chances and opportunities to grow rich. But you must have a stable life whereby you are not stressed by financial challenges, issues.
Yes.
And that's one other thing that you must do is avoid or minimize borrowings. You know, many of us borrow even for
recurrent
expenses within our businesses or even at home. Don't borrow money, because if you do, you'll create gaps in your finances, and it will be very difficult for you to achieve.
And this money is paid. And this money is paid back with interests most of the time. So if you use it to pay things like rent, you use it to buy a nice shoe or trouser, then the money is gone, and when it's time to pay, you pay it with extra liquidity that you let go of
definitely,
as you're paying the interest that you're supposed to incur. Yes, Elder, as we conclude this, any other point on how to achieve?
There is no ideal world. Wherever everything comes up, there are challenges. Unexpected things come up, and we spend more money. Don't be discouraged in case you get those challenges. Keep your goals and focus forward, remembering that when you are in the later stage of your life, you'll be more comfortable.
After having stressed a bit of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Now.
Not stressed, but sacrificed.
Sacrificing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. My parting shots on this, I have learned that you only have to spend less than what you earn. That is the only way you'll be able to put away something.
And make this, your expenditure should be necessary.
Necessary
Not
expenditure.
luxury.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elder. I think we will straight away go to our next question. The sustainability, achieving financial stability is one thing, but the sustainability. You've told us for you, you could live on your January pocket money
Up to the
until
end of
December.
The year.
It's quite not easy. It's, I think it takes commitment. It takes a lot of sacrifice. So how do we sustain this financial stability that we're talking about? More so looking at this world where we live, we're in a post-COVID period, and everything seems to be a bit of uncertain here and there.
Yeah, in business, stability is one of the biggest objectives that we must look forward to. We want to ensure that our businesses remain stable and able to stand financial problems. This is not easy, especially just as you have seen, there are many businesses that have collapsed during this period. And many people have lost employment. And even in church, we had to do some bit of welfare exercise
To support.
to support some of our
Members.
colleagues. Now, if you are in business, how do you achieve this? First and foremost, you must set goals. What is your goal? And these goals should not be only for business. Personal and business goals. Know what kind of financial position you want to have. You should know what you want to achieve in business. After setting your goals, plan to implement these goals. That's number one. Don't just do business for the sake of doing it, for passing time. You must have goals. And what is very common amongst our entrepreneurs is that they never separate personal
Personal and
and
business,
business finances. You must avoid putting this together. I will give you an example. You are having a grocery.
Yeah, you're having a grocery, you're selling
then,
sugar, bread,
bread,
salt.
And when something is missing at home,
You pick from the
you
grocery.
come and pick sugar, 2 kilos, salt you pick.
When Mama is cooking,
When Mama is cooking,
She
they
picks from
just
the
come
grocery.
for cooking oil
from the grocery,
from the grocery.
eating into the stock.
Definitely. You
And
are
the
eating
capital.
up your stock. So separate your needs at home
From
with
the
your
businesses.
your
But
business.
I thought this is why we put up these businesses, so that these businesses can sustain us.
Yeah, the business are supposed to sustain us, but we must separate because you are supposed to get a salary. Don't make a business without giving yourself a salary.
You pay yourself first.
You must pay a salary to yourself. Don't just go and eat up your capital. And this salary should be from your earnings. Earnings meaning your net profit.
From the profits.
From the profits. How do you do it? How do you know that I have made profits? Some of us may not know how to calculate
Profits in our
profits.
businesses.
Yeah. There is no harm for you getting somebody. Hiring someone.
That is an extra cost.
Yeah, but it will help you know the difference between what you have as your capital
And what you have as your profit.
and as your earnings. Give yourself a fair salary and live within that salary. Because
You're telling me I have a business there. It is a booming business, but you're telling me that I should live within the 500,000 that I'm paid by probably my accountant or my HR admin.
Yes.
Really? And even my savings, if I'm to save, I should save from my salary, not from my business.
You should save from your salary.
That I am paid from my business.
Yes, you should save from that.
Well, financial stability indeed takes a lot of discipline.
Because, yeah, exactly, it takes a lot of discipline. Because you might see that you have on account 10 million. And when you look at 10 million, you say, now why don't I buy a car? Eh? Whereas in the actual sense, that 10 million, only maybe 600,000 is the earning.
From the 10 million?
From the 10 million. The rest of it is capital. So you should learn to separate your capital from your earnings and save and guard it jealously. Because suppose you were doing it before COVID and then COVID comes in, your capital
will just shrink.
No, your capital will be there if you have been disciplined.
It will, yeah, it will still
your
stand.
Capital will just stand. But if you are borrowing from your capital, definitely 2-3 months down the road, you will collapse.
All right, Elder.
And then you should use your time efficiently. I have been to so many people's businesses. You find the workers or the person in charge
reading lesson studies during work,
you know, on WhatsApp, reading newspapers. You should be able to find time to you to understand, just as I said earlier, there's no way you will gain experience, there's no way you'll be able to develop skills
if you don't invest time.
If you don't invest time in your business. And make sure that your business is consistently
growing,
getting income. What do I mean by income? You must be having profits out of the business. There's no way you are going to get profits or increase on your income when you don't market yourself. I've loved some people who have started using the social media
to market their products.
And these days, during this period of COVID, we are not going out. If I want tomatoes, if I want
nyama
choma,
it's
just brought to my home.
And
how do I get it? It's because someone is marketing himself. So
someone out there is innovative.
Yeah. Whereas there are some people whom I have known, they come and they tell you that for 2 weeks I have not seen any customer.
Probably they're selling a slow-moving item.
No. You should market
yourself.
Make sure you market yourself, because there is no earning if you are seated with all your merchandise in your shop.
There's no earning that will find you in your comfort.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Thank you, Elder. I think because of time, we will go to our next question on how we raise funding for our business. How do we raise the funds that we're talking about that we need to save, the funds that we're talking about that we need to invest later on? Raising funds for our businesses. How should we go about that?
Yes, that is a question which is asked by so many people, especially the young people of today.
Yes.
You are telling us to do business, but we don't have money. Or they do business using their little income, and then all of a sudden, they don't have money. They don't have earnings, and they eat up the capital. Apart from personal savings, you can improve your business by borrowing.
You had earlier on said borrowing is not good.
Yeah. This is one way of helping you grow. This will help your business grow. However, before you do this, you must be very careful. When you are borrowing, number one, is it necessary, really necessary?
Why the purpose for which you're borrowing?
Yeah, why are you borrowing? Your business might be working so well. Why should you borrow? Or why should you borrow for recurrent expenses? Don't borrow to pay rent.
Or you borrow, some people borrow because they feel they can afford to borrow.
No, you see, you must look at your cash flow. How are you, how much do you make? Are you able to recover? I mean, to pay off the loan?
Using the income that you make.
Using the income that you have.
Most especially
Yes.
being able to pay using the profit component of what you make. Yes.
You should also look at where you are borrowing from. We have got banks, we have got money lenders,
Yes.
we have got friends,
We've
and
got
family.
We've got SACCOs.
You have got SACCOs,
Investment clubs.
investment clubs. You must look at which one of the which one. But if you are to borrow, assess the costs. There are very many people who go to the bank.
Yes,
and I have seen it, and I've been a victim one time. They give you the documents.
You sign?
Before you even read, you just sign.
Yeah, because you need the money.
Because you need the money.
And
you
time is out.
And time is out. But some of these banks, the costs are so numerous that you end up paying almost 2 installments of your loan.
In costs.
In costs.
Valuation fees.
Valuation.
Professional fees. Mortgaging.
Mortgaging.
Loan processing.
Exactly.
So until you have a business that is at a certain level, some of this borrowing is not necessary.
It's not necessary.
Otherwise, it will eat up into your cash flow.
And you must be able to borrow out of the going concern. Don't start a business and you start with borrowing.
In its first year?
In its first year, then you start thinking of borrowing.
I think even bankers discourage that. Until a business is about 2 years, they will not ably assess you for a loan. They will tell you to go and continue working.
Yeah, in business, you must look at the needs. Do a needs assessment. Where do you actually need to? Which part of your business that you want to finance? Just as I said, don't borrow for recurrent expenses.
We have one of our viewers asking a question. Elder Paul Rusoke on Zoom is asking, in Uganda, today we have a lot of peer-to-peer lending, i.e. individuals preferring to borrow to obtain loans directly from other individuals, cutting out the financial institutions as a middleman. Why is this so popular? And yet, it can be so costly to both the lender and the borrowers sometimes. I think Elder Rusoke is asking about borrowing from
money lenders,
from SACCOs, from investment clubs, why it would be a preferred medium of borrowing. SACCOs and investment clubs give an opportunity to the members, one, to pool their resources together, and it's from those resources that they borrow, so that they have the growth happening within. The borrowing from SACCOs and investment clubs, like what we've just said, the cost of borrowing is slightly cheaper. Actually, not slightly. It is way cheaper than from these other mediums like banks and money lenders and other forms of financial institutions. So if it is well managed, yes, there's a risk, front and backward risk. The requirements, the paperwork for SACCOs and investment clubs, if a member is to borrow, is less than it would be for a commercial bank.
Yes, and if you look at loans from the bank, there are many requirements. You don't just go and you expect to get the money.
Yeah, but I think the banks also need to do a risk assessment. Elder.
They do a risk assessment. They want collaterals.
Yes.
And we have seen the cost. The cost of borrowing from the bank is a little bit higher, whereas the investment clubs,
SACCOs,
the SACCOs, you are pooling together
the resources.
And many of our people have failed to do business just because they have failed to raise capital. But if you are working together with your colleagues, you are able to pull together your funds.
Yes.
And you don't only get the funds. You'll find engineers, you'll find accountants.
All being members of the
all
same
being
circle.
members of the same circle. And they will help you.
They will share knowledge.
They will share knowledge with you. They will help you. And you are borrowing from what you have actually saved.
And the interest from the borrowing
is less.
But the margin that is made contributes to the saving that you have.
So with your saving, you are earning an interest.
Yes.
And you are easily getting money to do your business. You are getting the knowledge from your peer friends.
From your peers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's better if you are looking, if you was asked which one should be
the ideal
media of getting funds, it should be through the investment clubs. Because I would even advise you that if you are starting a business, you can borrow from the club. But don't borrow to start a business from the bank. Because the bank gives a very short period, whereas when you are having a credit from your members, you can agree on the time element. And remember, you are getting also the knowledge to run your business.
Yes.
Whereas the other way around, you are getting into something
that you don't really know.
And the requirements sometimes are stringent from the bank because you will need to have a collateral. What if you are just a young man who has just started a business and you don't have a house to mortgage? You don't have a car to mortgage. Of course, the bank will not give you money.
Yeah, we've actually seen many of these circles, many of these investment clubs. An example we have is the YSEV from our friends in the Pentecostal Church. And they have been able to grow from strength to strength. We were still talking about loans before that question came in from one of the members. And you were talking about assessing the extra costs that when we borrow, there are numerous costs that are involved. You talked about us considering the need, the purpose for which you're borrowing, and it should be matching with your cash flows.
Yeah.
And the amounts that we take from these banks to borrow shouldn't be over and above what we really need because we pay back this money with interest. The other point is that the viewer needs to know that these banks evaluate the ability for loan repayment. So before you borrow the loan, you as the borrower, you should be able to know that you've prepared well for the loan repayment. You shouldn't spend time in concocting cash flows because yes, you might concoct the cash flows, get the loan, but put yourself in shit. So we should ensure that our income is sustainable and enough to pay the loans that we take out. We draw up a cash flow, and this will help us estimate our monthly earnings. What beats my understanding is that we do a lot of budgeting, we do a lot of preparations, we do a lot of cash flow analysis as we go to borrow. How I wish that we could have the same discipline back in our homes. Like you said, I think that is the only way we would be able to get money in January and live with it through to December. A colleague of ours gave an example sometime when we were in a workshop. And he asked a question that how many of us can run or walk from Kampala by then to Jinja? And I mean, none of the people raised up their hands because, I mean, it's next to impossible. But he asked again, if a bomb took off now where we are, and security says that the only safe place is Jinja, how many people would be able to run or walk from here to Jinja? Everybody raised up their hand. So we need to look at how safe we are in terms of our finances. We need to do proper planning and focus at yourself as an individual. Don't compare yourself with the rest, because as we walk the Kampala to Jinja journey, some have already gotten to Seta, yet others are still in Chireka, and others are just starting the journey. So walk your journey until you get there. Elder, yes, your parting shots as we conclude.
Yeah, as we have seen, that financial stability is something that is achievable.
Yes.
And it needs, one, self-discipline.
Yes.
We need to plan.
Yes.
We need to live within our means.
That is true. That's very important.
Minimize borrowing for the sake of borrowing. Borrow when you are just improving on your
business. You'd
business.
rather save for the sake of saving.
You'd rather save for the sake of saving. Other than going to borrow and you get into problems, challenges of paying back, then you are given penalties and such like things. Maybe you even lose your collateral.
Yeah, it is possible.
And the best way to manage your finances is look for a very friendly and soft landing loans. And as our panel is, we are advising our members who are listening and our viewers, try to look at these investment clubs where you can, all of you, pull together finances and then determine what you're supposed to do. Sometimes this pooling is done without big interest. And remember, when you are saving your own money.
Yes.
And you are using your own money to develop yourself.
Thank you very much, Elder. It's been a wonderful time with you. What I've taken is that we should be vigilant. We should save. We should have the end in mind. You should have a goal and focus at it. And that we should make sure that we spend as less, much less than what we earn. Thank you very much, and be blessed.